The Motorstorm series was a PlayStation exclusive line of racing games which focused on unique, diverse tracks with a multi-lane system. Its prominent features included a boost mechanic, crash physics, and a wide range of vehicles that could be used throughout the game. There was the three main titles in the lineup, which were Motorstorm, Motorstorm Pacific Rift, and Motorstorm Apocalypse, which were all PS3 titles. Arctic Edge was a strange addition to the line of games, which was practically a full Motorstorm title, which was released to the PS2 and PSP in 2009. I'm not sure why they released the game to the PS2 all the way in late 2009, considering the first two games were PS3 titles. It uses the same format from the first two titles, but with a winter and Arctic aesthetic. I believe it was mainly from the fact that they made a PSP title, and because PSP games are rather small and probably uses quite similar hardware at the time, that they could just do a direct port over to the PS2. I wouldn't particularly call Arctic Edge a spin-off title, as it's more of its own full game, which just happened to be on an odd choice of systems for the time, but Motorstorm RC is what I'd like to consider a lesson in how to make an excellent spin-off title. As I drive my way around the hub area inside of the game, you have already been slapped by the game's charm from the get-go. If you've ever had an RC car yourself, the majority of people love to take them to skate parks for the ability to use the jumps. Even one of my very first YouTube videos was me doing something similar.
Now this is going to be a jump over that one. Woo! Look at there, just over there.
I adore this starting area, and it just gets me fully immersed in the game within seconds of it booting up. Due to how real and natural it looks, I feel like I've been here before. I think they did a great job with the unique POV from this game, as if you've ever seen people race RC cars in a tournament style, this is the viewpoint from where you would be seeing it from, where games like Revolt use the typical behind the car focus, but make the environments giant and give you a feeling of being inside of the RC car, rather from the perspective of driving one as you would in the real world. Getting into the main gameplay, there are different modes in which you race in. You have your standard race against other opponents, hot laps where you race against a timer and also a ghost to show you what the possible best line could be, overtaking where you overtake a certain amount of cars in a given time limit, and you also have drifting, which is tied to only the muscle cars due to the way that their handling physics work. There are many different vehicle types in the game, such as super mini, monster truck, racing truck, buggy, rally car, big rig, muscle car, and supercar. The tracks in this game are incredibly detailed and are all themed around each Motorstorm game, with 2 extra track packs that are made completely new for this game. The race types inside were structured really nicely in the first 4 map packs based on other games. You would start by going through the slower RC cars races, gradually building your way up to the drift race, and then given hot laps to complete on each track with the supercar. This was an excellent way of building your way up to get used to the speed of each RC car and how they handled, with a gradual difficulty increase. The hot laps in the supercars are by far my favourite ones to do, due to how the cars handle and how the goal time can come down to beating it within 1,000th of a second. For some unknown reason, they decided to scrap this gradual build up for the last 2 track packs, and also remove doing the hot laps in the supercar for each track in the pack. This is probably the worst thing I've got to say about the game, and I have no idea why they removed it. It was by far the best way to do it, and they just decided to go, yep, we're just going to take that out for the last 2. As I whiz around this track in the Pacific Rift track pack, I want to talk about the actual track design. The layouts of the tracks are very straightforward and quite basic, but it's the theming of each track and the attention to detail of how they're put together is what really shows the hard work and dedication from the employees that made this game. It is unbelievable. This track that I'm racing around now is what I believe to be based off the Paradise Beach track from Pacific Rift. This was my favourite track when I was growing up playing Pacific Rift, and it still is today. The way that the track has been landscaped to make it fit the theme is impeccable. This is the same for each and every track that is themed around the other 4 games. They have taken inspiration and theming from them and handcrafted them to fit the universe perfectly. Motorstorm is about a racing festival, and I can totally see this being an area where you can go inside of the festival and race some RC cars. If we take a look at another track from the Apocalypse pack, you can see how in universe they kept the track. I could 100% see the people in the Apocalypse finding an area like this and setting up a track for their RC cars to race round. The scaling of everything is perfect, especially when it comes to the supercar hot laps. Some of the times that you have to beat are only 10 seconds, but the fact that the time limit is so small, it makes it a massive challenge, but also removes the tedious feel of trying to improve your lap times in other racing games. When laps can take 2 to 3 minutes to get round, doing it over and over again, the boredom can really set in fast. Now, the way that the tracks are only 20 seconds long maximum means that you can just keep pushing and pushing. I'm a big fan of the Ghost Trail because watching it go neck and neck with you all the way around, and sometimes catching you out of nowhere, is such an adrenaline rushing experience due to how close the margins are to finally beat the time. I want to show you some of the tracks from the other 2 map packs that aren't inspired from the other Motorstorm titles. I feel with no sense of direction and maybe even crunch within the company, as this was one of Evolution Studios' last games they made before closing their doors indefinitely. You can definitely see how I feel the devs were quite lost with what to do and how to theme everything, that it just looks so bland. These tracks are easily my least favourite, and they just aren't even fun to race around, let alone have any good theming or track design. Maybe since these are the Pro and AM series tracks, they went for more of a realistic design with the tracks instead of keeping them fun and interesting. With the way that the races are structured inside the pack and just a lack of interesting layout and design makes me think that these were either an afterthought to add to the game or even just some half-assed padding to fill the game out with some extra content. Bear in mind that this is also a PS Vita title, so it makes sense why there's not too much to the game, but I would have 100% preferred more tracks based and themed off the other tracks from the other 4 games in the series rather than whatever this is. The game shines the best when you're racing against the clock. Unlike the full Motorstorm titles, the AI opponents aren't really that fun to race, and sometimes you forget that they're even there at all. I think this is either down to the limits that they had to put on the game itself for it to fit nicely into a PS Vita. I never owned a Vita or played any racing games on there, but I feel that's probably a part of it. There's limits and constraints that you have to develop within to get the game to run on a handheld console, which is one of the main problems when creating any game for it. Your ideas have to be limited to fit the system. If they made an entire game just of the supercar hot laps, I'd still have a great time. Overall, I think this is an excellent spin-off title. I also just think it's an excellent RC game. You can really tell that the developers behind this just love RC cars themselves and wanted to pay tribute to that. The goal that they set out to achieve, they have definitely smashed, and you really feel like you're racing an RC car and not just a car in a massive environment. I definitely recommend you go and give this a go. Try and get it on the emulator. This was my reaction when I downloaded the latest patch for the emulator and then tried making this video. I hate RPCS3 devs. All they do is make the fucking emulator worse. It's so annoying. Oh, you do an update. Oh, all the games that work perfectly fine now don't work at all. But yeah, if you can get it working, I downloaded like a month-old patch or a month-old version of the emulator, and it sort of runs. There was a version that I had played where the weird, really bright light that is just like all of the white, as you can see on the screen now, is kind of really overpowering. And if I show you what it looks like inside of the little hub area, it's so much worse. You cannot play any of the Arctic Edge maps at all because it's just a white screen. You cannot see anything. But if you can find a patch that works flawlessly, just give it a go because it is so worth it. This game is excellent. It's just a really great little game and it's definitely worth your time playing it. You don't have to go all the way through and complete everything, but I would say do it up until the point where you get to the Pro and the AM bit. Just scrap that off. It's literally pointless because the fun area is all of the ones with the actual games tied to them because it's excellent. But thank you all very much for watching, and thank you very much to my money havers, Andrew, Grim, Luna, Olam, Susie, Will and Bryson. Thank you ever so much for supporting the channel. It really does mean the world to me. If you'd like to become a money haver as well and support the channel too, please do press the join button below. Subscribe for more of this stuff, and I'll see you a lot later. Goodbye.